The night was silent on Outpost Theta 9, a tiny human base, sitting alone on a frozen world, far beyond the safety of the Terran colonies. No city lights, no voices, no sound, just the endless wind scraping across metal walls. Inside, Dr. Elias Trent sat at his desk, the last human awake. The soft hum of machines filled the silence. A coffee mug rested beside him, long gone cold. His eyes burned from staring at glowing screens for too long. For weeks, nothing had happened here. No signals, no movement. Just data collection, silence, and loneliness. Until tonight, a sound broke through the quiet. At first, he thought it was the wind. Then it came again. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Trent froze. He turned off the small desk light and listened. The sound was coming from the main airlock, the outer door that led to the frozen wasteland. He checked the time, 2:47 hours. No one was supposed to be out there. No patrols. No shuttles. Nothing. Probably just the metal contracting, he whispered to himself. But the scratching didn't stop. It grew faster, sharper, more desperate, like something was trying to get in. Trent stood up slowly, heart pounding. He walked across the lab, past rows of humming equipment and blinking monitors. The emergency lights painted everything in red shadows. When he reached the door, the scratching stopped. He held his breath. The silence was so heavy that he could hear his own heartbeat echo inside his helmet. Then, faintly, he heard it again, whimpering, a sound like a small animal crying. He tapped the control panel. The thermal scanner activated, showing 3 heat signatures, tiny, trembling, alive. Standing just outside the door, that was impossible. Nothing could survive the cold out there for more than a few seconds. Not even the native animals. He called out through the COM speaker. "Hello? This is Dr. Elias Trent, Terran Research Division. Identify yourself." No response. Just that same small, broken whimper. He switched to internal comms. Mira, the base AI, answered instantly. "Yes, Doctor? There's movement outside. 3 life forms. Impossible. Surface temperature is -72 degrees Celsius. No known organism can survive exposure." "Then explain the heat signatures," he whispered. There was a pause. "Scanning. Unknown species detected. Size. Approximately 1 meter. Humanoid thermal pattern. Do not open the airlock." Trent looked at the door again. He hesitated. He knew the rules. The Frontier Treaty was clear. No contact with alien life without clearance. Especially not in this region, the hunting grounds of the Alpha species. The treaty called them Korath, predators, powerful, unpredictable. But these signals were small. Too small to be adult Korath. He felt the scratching again, weak this time, like small hands pressing against the door. And under it, a faint cry. A child's cry. Trent clenched his fists. "I can't leave them out there." "Dr. Trent," Mira warned, "you are violating override protocol," he snapped. "Manual control. Open outer door at 20%. The lock hissed, and freezing wind roared in like a living thing. He gasped as ice crystals bit his face. Through the storm, he saw 3 figures small, hunched shapes covered in frost. They stumbled toward him, their movements slow, unsteady. He dropped to one knee and extended a gloved hand. "It's okay. Come here." One of them looked up. Its eyes glowed faintly gold in the darkness. Not human. Not even close. But there was fear in those eyes. Fear and pain. He helped them inside. The door sealed shut with a deep metallic thud. Warm air rushed back in. The figures collapsed on the floor, shivering violently. When the frost began to melt, Trent finally saw what they were. Cubs, alien cubs. Their fur was silver gray, fine and soft. Their faces were strange, somewhere between wolf and feline, yet oddly intelligent. Their claws were small but sharp. One of them had an injured leg. Another was clutching something like a glowing crystal shard. Trent's voice trembled. "You're Korath." Mira's voice came through the speakers. "Confirmed. Genetic match juvenile Korath specimens. You must report this immediately." "They're just children," Trent said quietly. "They would have frozen to death out there." "You are not authorized to engage," I said. "Shut down, Mira." The IS voice cut off. Silence filled the room again. Trent knelt beside the smallest cub. Its fur was soaked, its breathing weak. He wrapped it in a thermal blanket and carried it to the heater. The others followed, curling around each other like frightened animals. As the warmth reached them, the cubs made soft, clicking sounds almost like language. One of them reached out and touched Trent's sleeve with its claw, tilting its head curiously. He smiled, exhausted. "You're safe now. No one's going to hurt you." But even as he said the words, a voice in the back of his mind whispered, "You have no idea what you've done." Hours passed. The storm outside grew stronger. The wind howled like a beast circling its prey. Inside, the cubs slept near the heater, their small chests rising and falling. Trent sat beside them, staring at his data tablet. The more he read about the Korath, the more uneasy he felt. They were known for their intelligence, their brutal hierarchy, and their devotion to their young. If these cubs were here, that meant their parents were missing. Or worse, on their way. He opened a voice log. "Dr. Elias Trent, day 42, unknown contact. 3 juvenile Korath found at the main airlock. Condition stable. Emotional response conflicted. They shouldn't be here. According to every map, the nearest den is 60 kilometers east. I don't understand how they made it through the storm alive." He sighed. "I'll figure it out in the morning." He leaned back in his chair, the lights dimming to night mode. The hum of machines faded into background noise. For the first time in months, he didn't feel alone. Scratch, scratch. Trent's eyes shot open. He looked around. The cubs were asleep. The sound wasn't coming from them. It was coming from the outer wall this time. He checked the motion sensor. Nothing. Thermal scan, nothing. But the scratching grew louder and deeper. He approached the observation window and looked out into the storm. The snow was thick, swirling like ghosts. The floodlights flickered. Then he saw it, a massive shadow moving at the edge of the lights. Too tall, too wide. Standing still, watching, his breath caught. The scanner pinged once, then died. Power surge. He ran back to the console. "Myra, reboot sensors." No response. The base went dark. Total blackout. Only emergency red lights flickered across the walls. The cubs woke, crying softly, pressing against each other. One of them began to click rapidly, a high-pitched sound like a warning. Trent knelt beside them. "Hey, it's okay. It's just a power cut." But he knew it wasn't. The ground vibrated beneath his feet. Thud. 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 Heavy footsteps. Something was outside. "Something big," he whispered. "Mira, what's our perimeter status?" The eye finally flickered back online. Perimeter compromised. External motion detected. Large mass approaching. Unknown classification. Trent's heart hammered. How large? Approximately 20 meters in height. Biothermal readings. Match adult Korath Alpha. His blood went cold. The Alpha. He turned toward the cubs. They were staring at the door, eyes wide, trembling. The smallest one whimpered, pressing against his leg. Trent realized then what was happening. The scratching at the door. It wasn't random. It was a signal. The cubs hadn't come here by mistake. They had been sent here. Or worse, chased here. The ground shook again. Outside, A roar tore through the storm so deep it made the walls vibrate. The cubs cried out in fear. Trent grabbed his plasma torch and backed away from the door. He whispered to himself, "What did I bring inside?" The night stretched endlessly. Every sound became a threat. Every shadow looked alive. The Alpha's roar echoed again, farther this time, like it was circling the base. Testing the walls. Waiting. Trent watched the cubs. They had gone completely still now, their golden eyes reflecting the emergency lights. For a moment, they looked almost human, like children trying not to cry. He whispered softly, "I'll protect you." But deep down, he wasn't sure if he could. Because somewhere out there, in the howling storm, a mother was searching for her lost children. And when she found who had taken them, no wall, no treaty, no human technology would stop her, and that was how the nightmare began. The storm outside had turned violent. Winds screamed across the outpost like furious ghosts, slamming against the metal walls. Snow and dust whirled through the darkness, hiding everything beyond the floodlights. Inside, Dr. Elias Trent sat by the console, staring at the flickering red alarms. His pulse was racing. He had heard the roar. No, he had felt it. A sound so deep it had shaken the air itself. The base scanners were offline again. Power readings spiked, then died. Outside, something massive was moving through the storm. Something alive. Trent stood slowly, his hands trembling. He looked toward the corner of the lab, where the 3 alien cubs huddled together, eyes glowing gold in the dim light. Their small bodies pressed close, frightened but alert. One of them, the smallest, looked up at him and made a soft clicking sound. It wasn't random. It sounded like a word. A single pleading sound. Trent whispered back, "I know. I hear it too." The walls vibrated again. Thud. 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 Something was walking just outside the perimeter. He rushed to the main terminal and forced the sensors online manually. The screen blinked, static filling the air, and then a heat signature appeared, huge, at least 20 meters tall. Heart rate off the charts. Energy output unstable. "Mira," he said softly, "confirm identification." "Confirmed," the IS voice replied. "Life form matches Korath Alpha classification. Estimated mass, 40 tons. Estimated proximity, 60 meters and closing." Trent's stomach turned cold. He'd read about the Alphas. He'd seen their images, massive, armored beasts with intelligence nearly equal to humans. They were the apex predators of this region. Their presence alone could silence entire battlefields, and one was coming straight for him. The cubs began to whine again, scratching lightly at the metal floor, restless. Their fur shimmered faintly with a soft bioluminescent glow. It was beautiful and terrifying. He crouched near them. Hey, calm down, all right? You're safe here." The eldest cub, slightly taller, with streaks of silver on its fur, looked him directly in the eyes. There was no misunderstanding the emotion there. It was trying to warn him. Then came the roar. Louder this time, closer. Every light flickered. Every surface trembled. Trent stumbled back, nearly dropping his torch. "Mira, seal all exterior doors." "Seal confirmed." "Perimeter integrity 92%. And if it attacks?" "Perimeter integrity 0%. He cursed under his breath. The base was strong, but it wasn't made to withstand a creature like that. He turned to the cubs again. "Why are you here? What do you want from me?" They didn't answer, of course. But one of them, injured, with a scar down its leg, limped toward the door. It placed a claw gently on the cold metal. Then it looked back at him with wide, golden eyes. It was like it wanted to go out. "No," he said firmly. "You can't. You'll die out there." The cub let out a sharp, low growl, small, but filled with pain. Then it scratched the door again, and that's when he saw it. The door wasn't just metal anymore, it was glowing faintly blue, like it was reacting to the cubs' touch. Their claws emitted small sparks of energy, leaving patterns on the surface. Mira's scanners flickered back to life. Doctor, readings show unknown energy resonance. Cub DNA interacting with structure materials. Result fusion instability. They're melting the door? Negative. They are marking it. Trent stared. Marking it? Like? Signaling. Correct. Signal detected. Frequency matches Korath Alpha communication spectrum. He froze. They weren't scratching at random. They were calling it. The next roar shook the entire base. A crack appeared in the outer wall. Tools fell off the table. The cubs screamed, an ear-piercing cry that made the lights explode. Trent ran to the emergency locker and grabbed his plasma rifle. His hands shook so badly he could barely hold it steady. Myra, activate external cams. Camera feed unstable. Attempting manual override. Feed restored. The screen came alive with static and then an image. At first, it looked like a moving mountain. But then the fog cleared and the true shape appeared. The Alpha stood in the storm, towering over the base. Its skin shimmered like molten metal, covered in ridged armor plates. Its eyes burned like suns. Each breath released clouds of vapor that glowed faintly in the dark. Trent whispered, "God help me." The Alpha lowered its head. For a moment, it didn't attack. It simply looked, its gaze fixed exactly on the lab's airlock. It knew where its cubs were. Inside. The cubs cried out again, their sounds trembling between fear and recognition. The eldest pressed both claws to the door now, sending stronger pulses of blue light through the metal. Mira's voice echoed in the lab. Warning, localized magnetic field increasing. Atmospheric distortion detected. Trent stepped back, covering his face as the air shimmered. For a second, he saw images, blurry visions flashing across his mind. An open cave. A nest. The Alpha standing tall, cubs playing near its claws. Then fire, humans, explosions. He gasped, falling to his knees. The visions vanished. What the hell was that? Unknown psychic resonance detected. Source, juvenile Korath. He stared at the cubs, horrified. They had shared something with him. A memory. Their memory. And it wasn't just a random scene, it was war. Humans had attacked their den. Burned it, taken something. Maybe that's why these cubs were here. Maybe they weren't lost. Maybe they were running away. Trent whispered, "We did this." The Alpha moved closer. The screen showed its massive claws sinking into the snow, each step shaking the camera. Then it stopped right in front of the main door. It raised one arm slowly, deliberately, and placed its claw against the metal. The same sound returned. Scratch. 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 Only now, it was so loud it made Trent's ears ring. The cubs cried out in response, running toward the door. The injured one tripped, and Trent instinctively caught it before it hit the floor. It looked up at him, eyes wide, and for a brief second, it smiled. A strange, soft sound came from its throat like a whisper in a language he couldn't understand. Mira's voice broke through again. "Dr. Trent, the Alpha is not attacking. Its body heat remains constant. It is communicating. Communicating what? Unclear. But its heart rate indicates distress, not aggression." Trent took a deep breath. "It wants them back." He looked at the cubs. They were pressed against the door now, their bodies trembling. Their glowing fur matching the same pulse as the Alpha's. The resonance between them grew stronger. Faster, like a heartbeat connecting through the walls. "Mira," Trent whispered, "if I open that door, what happens?" Probability of survival, 0%. Atmospheric collapse likely. The Alpha may react unpredictably, and if I don't, it will eventually destroy the outpost. Trent smiled bitterly. "So I die either way." He walked to the door, slowly. The cubs looked up at him, watching every move. The smallest one limped after him, clutching his pant leg with its claw. He knelt down. "You want to go, don't you?" The cub blinked, tilting its head. Then it touched his hand, its small claws warm against his skin. For a moment, he felt something again. A thought that wasn't his own. A voice, soft and scared. "Home." He nodded slowly. "All right." He turned to the console. "Myra, prepare to open airlock manual override." "Doctor, I must advise against. Override code 2714 Echo." The system beeped. Warning lights flared red. Manual control engaged. Opening in 5, 4. Trent looked down at the cubs. "Go, run." 3, 2. The door hissed. Cold air rushed in like knives. Snow burst through the opening. The Alpha's massive form stood beyond, half hidden in the storm. Glowing eyes fixed on the light. The cubs screamed, not in fear, but joy. They bounded out into the snow, running straight toward the giant figure. Trent stepped forward, shielding his face from the wind. The Alpha bent down, lowering its head. The cubs leapt into its arms. It made a deep, rumbling sound, a purr so powerful it vibrated through the air, for a brief, impossible moment. It looked peaceful. Then the Alpha's gaze turned toward him. It didn't move, didn't roar. It just watched. Trent stood there, his breath freezing in the wind. He raised one hand not in defense, but in respect. The Alpha tilted its head slightly, then gave a low, almost human sound, a growl that felt like a thank you. And then, just as suddenly as it came, it turned away, disappearing into the storm with its young. For a few long minutes, there was silence again. Only the wind and the quiet hum of machinery struggling to stay alive. Trent collapsed to his knees. His hands were shaking, his body weak. Mira's voice came softly through the speaker. "Doctor, are you alive?" "Yeah," he whispered. "I think so. The Alpha has left the perimeter. You are safe." He looked out into the storm, but the figures were gone. Only 3 faint sets of footprints led away into the snow, and one massive trail where the Alpha had walked. He smiled faintly. Safe. For now. He didn't know that what he had done saving those cubs would start something far bigger than he could imagine. Because in the Korath Empire, no human had ever shown mercy before. And soon, the Alphas would remember his name. The storm had finally begun to die. Outside the outpost, the wind slowed, the snow settled, and the endless white desert stretched into silence once more. Inside, Dr. Elias Trent stood in the half-dark, breathing hard. The door was open, just a few inches, frost climbing its edges. Beyond it, there was nothing left to see, only footprints fading into the snow. The Alpha and its cubs were gone. He closed the airlock slowly, sealing himself back in. The base felt emptier than before. The warmth of the small alien creatures was gone, leaving only the echo of their cries in his mind. He dropped his plasma torch and leaned against the wall, exhausted. His heartbeat echoed in the silence. For the first time in weeks, the fear had lifted, but what replaced it wasn't peace. It was something heavier. Guilt. He had broken every rule in the Frontier Treaty. He had made contact. He had helped the enemy. And worse, he had felt compassion for them. "Dr. Trent," Mira's voice came softly from the speakers. "Biometric readings indicate fatigue and emotional distress." "Yeah," he muttered. "I'm just realizing what I've done. You ensured the survival of 3 intelligent beings. Statistically, that action aligns with moral priority protocols." "Not according to command," he said bitterly. "When they find out, they'll court-martial me. Maybe worse." He stared at the empty blankets near the heater, still carrying traces of alien fur that shimmered faintly under the light. The cubs had slept there, played there, trusted him. He remembered the warmth of their claws, the sound of their small purrs, the way the smallest one had whispered that single word inside his mind. Home, he whispered back now. I hope you made it. Hours passed. He repaired the damaged walls, recalibrated the sensors, and tried to convince himself it was over. But deep down, he knew it wasn't, because the Korath didn't forget. 3 days later, the silence broke. A transmission crackled through the CUM system, garbled, then clear. Outpost Theta 9, this is Fleet Command. Dr. Elias Trent, respond immediately. He hesitated before pressing the mic. This is Trent, I'm here. We lost contact with your sector 4 days ago. Satellite scans detected massive energy discharges around your base. Explain. He swallowed. Seismic activity. Temporary system failure. And the unauthorized life form signals? His hand froze. What signals? Static filled the channel for a few seconds. Then the voice changed colder. Dr. Trent, are you aware of the species designation Korath? Yes. Then you should know we detected a Korath Alpha less than a kilometer from your base during the storm. That's impossible under treaty conditions, unless... He could feel the accusation before the words came. Unless you made contact. Trent closed his eyes. Command, listen to me. If you attack them, you'll start another war. Our satellites show the Alpha heading east with juvenile units. We have orders to intercept. Termination authorized. No. He shouted, slamming the console. You don't understand, they're not hostile. This isn't up for debate, Doctor. Evacuate immediately. The signal cut out. Trent stood there in stunned silence. Outside, the snow had begun to move again, not from wind, but from the rumble of incoming ships. The distant hum of human engines. They were coming to kill them. He ran to the window, wiping the frost away. Far on the horizon, he could see faint streaks of light descending through the clouds' Terran gunships. They glowed like burning comets against the gray sky. He whispered, Oh no. The cubs. The Alpha. They were out there. And he was the only one who knew where. Myra's voice returned, calm and cold. Dr. Trent, your orders are to evacuate and await retrieval. No, he said. That is a direct order. Then consider me disobedient. He grabbed his thermal suit, loaded the plasma rifle, and powered up the ground rover. The engines roared weakly in the cold, struggling against the ice. Destination? Mira asked. East, he said. To the den. You are entering a restricted zone. Yeah, I know. The journey was brutal. The wind howled against the rover, snow cutting across the windshield like shards of glass. The radar flickered, showing faint energy signals in the distance, probably the Alpha. He gritted his teeth, pushing forward. Hang in there, you big bastard, he muttered. I'm coming. Hours passed. The fuel gauge dropped. The temperature plummeted. But finally, the cliffs appeared ahead, towering walls of silver stone, half buried under ice. The scanner pinged. Energy source detected ahead. Life signs confirmed. He stopped the rover and stepped into the storm. His boots crunched through the snow. He could see faint blue lights glowing near the cliffs, bioluminescent veins running through the rock dot then. Through the fog, he saw them. The Alpha stood near the entrance of a massive cave. Its armor dull and cracked. The cubs were huddled beneath it. It turned its head sharply as he approached. Growling low, defensive. Trent stopped, raising his hands. Easy, it's me. The Alpha's eyes narrowed. Glowing faint gold in the dark. Behind him, thunder echoed, not natural thunder, but the sound of approaching engines. The gunships were close. He took a step forward. They're coming, he said softly. Humans, my people. They think you're a threat. The Alpha tilted its head slightly, as if it understood. The cubs pressed closer to its claws, their eyes wide. He pointed to the sky. "They'll kill you if you stay. You have to go deeper, hide." The Alpha rumbled, the sound deep and mournful. It looked down at the smallest cub, then back at him. For a moment, there was a strange connection between them. The same resonance as before, soft waves of thought pressing into his mind. He saw flashes, images of fire, screaming, falling ships, human soldiers burning forests to ash. And in the center of it all, the same Alpha roaring in grief as its den collapsed. Then, a new image, Trent himself, standing in the storm, opening the door, saving their children. He gasped, stumbling back. The Alpha had shared its memory with him, its pain, its gratitude. It wasn't just intelligent, it was aware. He looked toward the horizon. Bright lights were cutting through the clouds, Terran ships descending fast. The wind shifted, hot and heavy from the plasma engines. He turned back to the Alpha. "If they see you, they'll open fire. Please go." But the Alpha didn't move. Instead, it looked toward the sky and released a deep, resonating sound, a call that shook the cliffs. The cubs cried out, answering it. It wasn't running. It was waiting. "Myra," Trent said quietly, "open a channel to the fleet." "Connection unstable." "Just try." Static hissed. Then a voice broke through. "Dr. Trent, this is Commander Vass. Stand clear." "Strike authorized." Trent shouted into the com, "Stop! There are juveniles down here. They're not hostile." "Doctor, you are interfering with a military operation. You will be detained. You're making a mistake. Fire on my mark." He looked up. The sky lit with red light. Plasma cannons charging. He had seconds. He turned to the Alpha. "If I can't make them listen, I'll make them see." He ran toward the Alpha, placing himself between it and the gunships. The snow glowed under the heat of the incoming blast. Myra screamed through the com, "Dr. Trent, get back." He shouted, voice cracking, "I'm human, and I'm standing here unarmed. You fire now, you kill one of your own." The beam fell silent. The com line buzzed with confusion. "Commander," a voice said. "Hold fire," came the reply. Trent stood trembling, the wind whipping around him. He pointed toward the Alpha. "Look at them. They're protecting their young, just like us." For a long, unbearable moment, no one spoke. Only the hum of the engines and the faint cries of the cubs. Then the commander's voice returned, quieter. "Retrieve Dr. Trent. Hold position." He exhaled shakily. He turned back to the Alpha. "It's okay," he whispered. "They're standing down." The Alpha lowered its head, eyes meeting his. It gave a slow, rumbling growl, softer now, almost gentle. Then it stepped closer and extended one massive claw. For a heartbeat. Human and alien touch. Trent felt the same pulse through his mind again, thoughts that weren't words, but meaning, gratitude, respect. And one final message. "We will remember." The Alpha turned, gathered its cubs, and disappeared into the glowing caves. Hours later, when the retrieval team arrived, they found the outpost abandoned, its systems fried by a mysterious energy surge. But near the edge of the landing site, frozen in the snow, were 4 sets of prints, 3 small ones, and 1 human. Command tried to rewrite the report, calling it an unconfirmed contact. But the soldiers who saw the recordings, the ones who watched that man stand between alien and cannon fire, they told another story. A story about a human who made a choice. A story about compassion stronger than fear.